The Whispering Forest. Chapter 1. The Call of the Forest. The forest was quiet, almost too quiet. With only the occasional rustling of leaves in the wind, it was a forest that most people in the nearby village avoided, whispering tales of strange happenings and eerie sounds that could make anyone shiver. They called it the Whispering Forest. Few dared venture deep inside, and even fewer returned with stories that made sense. Nadia, a young woman of 22, had grown up hearing these tales, but she wasn't afraid. She wasn't like the others in the village who believed in superstitions. She had always felt a strange pull toward the forest, something beyond fear, beyond curiosity. It was as if the trees themselves were calling to her. It was on a cool autumn day, with the sun barely breaking through the clouds, that Nadia decided to enter. Her heart raced, but it wasn't from fear, it was from excitement. As she crossed the threshold of the trees, she felt the change in the air. The temperature dropped, the light dimmed, and an odd stillness wrapped around her. But there was something else, a soft murmur. A voice. It was faint, like a whisper carried on the wind, but the trees seemed to be alive with it. She could make out words, but they were distant, too quiet. Nadia took a deep breath and followed the path deeper into the forest. Chapter 2. The first whisper. As Nadia walked further, the whispers grew louder, though still incomprehensible. It was like the trees were speaking among themselves, their voices blending with the soft rustling of the leaves. The air became thicker, and the ground beneath her feet felt spongy, as if the forest was alive, breathing with her every step. She paused by an ancient oak. Its trunk gnarled and twisted, the whispers seemed to come from its roots. But no matter how hard she listened, she couldn't make sense of the words. It wasn't like any language she knew. It was almost as if the forest itself had its own dialect, a secret language only understood by those who belonged to it. Suddenly, the whispers stopped. Nadia's heart skipped a beat. The silence was overwhelming. She could feel the weight of the forest pressing down on her, and a shiver ran down her spine. Then, a voice clearer this time spoke directly in her mind. "Why have you come?" Nadia froze, her breath catching in her throat. She wasn't sure if the voice was real or if her mind was playing tricks on her, but the words were unmistakable. I wanted to know what secrets you hold," she replied, her voice trembling with both wonder and fear. For a long moment, there was nothing. Then, the voice responded, this time softer, almost amused. "We hold many secrets, but be careful, for some are not meant to be uncovered." The trees around her creaked as if agreeing with the voice. Nadia felt a shiver of doubt creep into her, but she shook it off. She wasn't afraid. Not yet. Chapter 3. The heart of the forest. Nadia continued walking, following a narrow trail that seemed to appear out of nowhere. The path was winding, the trees growing closer together, their branches intertwining to create a canopy that blocked out most of the sky. The air was thick with the scent of damp earth and moss, and the further she went, the more she felt an unsettling sense of being watched. The whispers had returned, but this time they were not in her mind. They were real, coming from the shadows, between the trees. At first, it was just a soft murmur, but as she moved deeper into the forest, the voices grew louder. It sounded like a conversation, no, a debate. People, creatures, Nadja couldn't tell. She came to a clearing where the ground was covered in thick, soft moss. In the center stood a large stone, worn smooth by time. The whispers were now a cacophony, all around her, filling the air with an almost maddening intensity. The stone seemed to glow faintly in the dim light, and something about it seemed important. Nadja approached the stone, her fingers grazing its surface. It was cold to the touch, but there was a strange energy emanating from it. The whispers stopped abruptly as she made contact, and in the silence that followed, she could hear her own heartbeat pounding in her ears. Then, a voice different from the others spoke directly to her again. You have come to the heart of the forest. But now, you must decide. Decide what? Nadja asked, her voice shaky. To leave, or to stay and learn the truth. But know this. The truth is not always kind. Nadja hesitated. She had always been drawn to the unknown, but the weight of this moment felt different. The forest was offering her a choice, one that no one else had ever been given, and yet she felt no fear, only a strange sense of purpose. I will stay, she said, her voice steady. Chapter 4. The Keeper's Warning. The moment Nadja made her decision, the air around her shifted. The whispers grew into a roar, and the trees around her seemed to tremble. She turned to see a figure emerging from the shadows, a tall, hooded figure draped in dark robes. It moved with an eerie grace, its steps silent on the moss. Who are you? Nadja asked, her voice barely above a whisper. The figure stopped a few feet away, its face obscured by the hood. A deep voice echoed from beneath the cowl. I am the keeper of the forest, the one who watches over its secrets. You have chosen to stay. But be warned, once you enter, there is no turning back. Nadja swallowed. What do you mean? What secrets does this forest hold? The keeper tilted its head slightly, as if considering her question. The forest is alive, Nadja. It holds memories, desires, and dreams, some ancient, some new. It whispers because it remembers. It remembers everything. But I don't understand, Nadja said, her confusion growing. What does it want from me? The keeper's hood seemed to shift as though it were smiling. It doesn't want anything from you. But you must decide what you want from it. What you seek may come at a price. Nadja's heart skipped a beat. What kind of price? The keeper's voice grew soft, almost sorrowful. The price of knowledge is often more than one can bear. Before she could ask anything more, the keeper faded into the shadows, leaving her alone in the clearing. The stone beneath her fingertips pulsed with an odd warmth. The air seemed to hold its breath, waiting for her next move. Chapter 5. The Burden of Truth. Nadja continued her journey through the forest, her mind swirling with questions. The keeper's warning echoed in her mind, but she refused to turn back. She had come this far, and she had to understand the truth. The whispers had grown quieter, but they still followed her, like a constant presence just beyond her awareness. As the hours passed, the forest began to change. The trees thinned out, and the ground became uneven, almost treacherous. The air was heavy, as if laden with an invisible weight. She reached another clearing, this one even larger than the last, and in the center stood a massive tree, its trunk twisted and gnarled, its branches reaching up to the sky like skeletal hands. The tree seemed ancient, older than anything she had ever seen, and its roots stretched deep into the earth, winding like serpents. The whispers now were deafening, and Nadia felt the weight of the forest's knowledge pressing down on her. It was as though the tree was calling to her, urging her to come closer. She stepped forward, her heart pounding in her chest, and as she did, she felt a surge of energy rush through her. The tree's bark split open, revealing a hollow. Inside, glowing with an ethereal light. Inside, she saw a vision, a glimpse of something she had never seen before, but something she knew deep within her soul. A vision of her childhood, of her mother, of a time before the village had ever heard of the Whispering Forest. Suddenly, the vision shifted, her mother's face twisted in pain, and Nadia saw the forest in flames, consumed by an unnatural fire. The screams of those she loved echoed in her ears, and she collapsed to her knees, overwhelmed by the vision. The voice returned. Now you see the truth. The forest has always been a part of you. And the fire is coming again. Nadia gasped for breath. Her body trembling, she had uncovered the truth. But the price had been far higher than she had anticipated. Chapter 6. The Choice. Nadia stood before the tree, her mind reeling. From the visions she had seen, she had learned the truth of her heritage, the connection between her and the forest, but it was a truth laced with darkness. The fire, what did it mean? As the whispers returned, she understood. The forest was not just a place of secrets, but a place of power, and with power came responsibility. The fire was a warning, a cycle that would repeat unless someone stopped it, someone like her. But she was not ready. She was just a woman from a small village, with no magic, no power to stop what was coming. The weight of the forest's truth pressed down on her, suffocating her. The keeper's voice returned, gentle and knowing. You are the forest's heir, Nadia. You must choose. Will you embrace your destiny and protect the forest from the coming fire, or will you leave, taking the knowledge with you, but leaving the forest to its fate? Nadia closed her eyes, her heart heavy with the burden of her choice. She had never asked for this, never sought this power, but the forest had chosen her, and now it was time to choose her path. She took a deep breath, feeling the energy of the forest around her. I will stay, she whispered, the words carrying the weight of 1,000 years of secrets. And with that, Nadia became one with the forest, its protector, its keeper, its voice in the world. The fire would come, but she would be ready. The end.